Hope everybody's having a good night tonight. Just gonna do a quick Q&A. I was kind of lazy. I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do tonight. And then kind of really super piqued my interest, so I just switched it over to a Q&A. So if you got any questions, put them in the chat. What's up, my man Ty? Glad to see you. FinTech in the house. Oh yeah, I guess I should at least do a Q&A slide up there or something. So might do that real quick. Once again, if you got any questions, tech or cybersecurity, what's up, GMR? Glad you can join me. Put them in the box. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me. Give me a one in the chat. So I think I'm just gonna kind of freestyle it. So I close some of my windows. I've been labbing. Shout out to Dewan. I was labbing all day today, working and labbing, working and labbing. Get my AWS on. Hopefully, go take another quick test and get on that CISSP. Shout out to B Dubs. So I was actually giving us a pub on LinkedIn. Somebody was talking about the CISSP, so I told them to go check out B Dub's channel. She did an excellent job on the CISSP review. So I sent a couple people over there. I need to get back on it. I appreciate the ones. Yeah, let's see. Oh, that's a good question. I get that question. It's tech impact. It it varies. It depends on GRC is a big domain, right? I do federal work. Inside GRC, you can do risk work. I had a job a couple years ago where I just reviewed contracts, so it depends on what part of it. I would definitely start off with the GRC masterclass on Simply Cyber. I think for the price, that's an excellent getting started in there. And I know my man Chris out. You can have coffees with the GRC Mafia, me included. We definitely sit down with you one on one and kind of get you moving in the right direction. Um, and I'm a top. The job market is just crap. I don't care what you're going for, what you're trying to get in. The job market is just brutal right now. And tech does that I would say every 15, 12 years, it goes into kind of this recession piece. So I think we're I think we're there, right? I think this current administration is laying off a ton of people that's added to the job market. Um, I think AI, I think a lot of people are giving it more credit than I would give it, but I think it has a toe in there. So you have a ton of things I think weighing in on there. Let's see. All the years I've been here, facts. I've been talking about it at least for a decade. I told somebody on LinkedIn I've been talking about. To be honest, I never really felt I needed it because I have a lot of years of experience. But when I got laid off, 2 or 3 years ago, a lot of times for senior positions, they want you to have it. So HR is kind of using that as a bar to move on to the next level. Right. I had so much NIST 800-53. I'm sure it kind of helped me out to get around that. But there's so many people unemployed. I think that's going to be the minimum bar. Oh, facts, man. Facts. So, um, what your take on the whole GRC engineering? Like, yeah. I appreciate you. Yeah, happy Hump Day coming up. Let me highlight that. I I think that's something new. I think that's starting to come about. And I think AI has helping that come about. Why would AI help that come about? Especially everybody knows I'm an AWS guy. So if you get AWS config, AWS Bedrock, they help you now on a lot of that GRC documentation. So part of that engineering is automating the collection of data and how you do about it. But I just don't see that a lot. Um, why I pause is like I have a super duper technical background. I wouldn't call myself GRC engineering. Engineering to me means I'm automating stuff. My technical role is when I talk to the development team about schisms and hardening and how we're gonna meet this requirement, right? I seen it in the GRC discussion community. What is MFA, right? So to have an MFA, you got to have some Active Directory domain knowledge. Once again, I'm in AWS. So are you hooking up to Duo? Are you hooking up with Defender? Are you hooking up to Okta? And two, from a DoD perspective, because that's my background, are you using proper encryption? Are you using the proper FIPS compliance, right? To me, that's not engineering, right? I'm I'm working with the CTO or CIO. They design it. I just make sure it can pass an audit, right? I don't I don't call people babies ugly anymore. Like your design is stupid. I used to do that when I was younger. So if your design is your design, I'm gonna say, are you using the proper encryption? Are you using the proper MFA? Are you using the proper tokens? We were talking about passwords, right? I've been changing passwords every 90 days for 20 years, right? And this came out with a paper saying that's not cool, right? Because you people writing it down, you change your password, you forget, so. Um, but overall, from a GRC perspective, especially an internal audit, what does that look like? But once again, I just don't see GRC engineering a ton. Because to me, you're automating a lot of times. And if I'm the CTO, a lot of times they don't let those are two separate things. I shouldn't engineer it, then approve it for compliance, right? Those are two separate duties. So a lot of times they want to separate that. Let me know if that answers your question, Cam. I'm kind of kind of rambling, but yeah, I think it's coming in the future. I just don't see it a lot. And for me, you're kind of commingling. Once again, um, if I build something, I don't want to come by and say this NIST 800-53 or CMMC compliant. Now, when I design stuff, I can say it is, but there should be a third party 3PAO or an auditor that actually validates that design. See, my man Ty said the tech field make me not good. Oh no, everybody goes through that, Ty, and especially if you're out there grinding. The hard part is when you grind and you don't get to see the benefits of your grinding. Um, but for me, which it's easy for me to say because I'm in there, I think that's part of the game. Like I said, when I came out, when I came out in 1990, there was a recession. So I've been there for it. And it really sucks, right? Especially now, I think this is going to be a lot bigger recession because obviously I think they overhired during COVID, and you see all the big tech firms. I think they said AWS or Meta laid off 9,000 people. So I mean 9,000. But granted, AWS has over 100,000, way over 100,000 tech people. So for them it's like 2 or 3%. But if you're the person getting laid off, right, that's huge. Shout out to them. I had a good interview with them. So okay, cool. I know you're this guy, but curious your thoughts on CIS is better fit, more applicable. No, I agree with that. And I'm bad about that because I think this, especially 853, that is a big, that's a big policy, big compliance. It has over 1,000 controls, and that's definitely not meant for a small business. So no, I agree with that. CIS 18, NIST, CSF. I probably, because I'm a NIST guy, I probably go to CSF. No, you're correct, Ben Tech. You need the right hammer. Sometimes I just like to go out there with my sludge hammer and say, we the best, like DJ Khaled. This 853, we the best. but no, correct. And that's one thing. As I get older, you got to have the right tool for the right job. Because I'm a stead guy, and that's a heavy lift. So I would do, and everybody know I do a lot of IRS work. IRS 4812 is really for smaller consultants, and their hardening is the CIS level 1 benchmark. So now that's appropriate, Ben Tech. Like I said, I become a NIST bigot, so you want to do the right security program for the right size company. And once again, I think CIS is they're top of the list for a small company. They give you basic policies and procedure templates. And once again, a lot of big guys start off with CIS level one and work your way up to schisms, which is the IRS hardening, or STIGs, which is the DoD. I think FBI is CIS level one, not even two. So no, CIS is definitely for a small business. Because once again, if you're coming in with not much for a small company, this is that'd be too big. CIS would be a heavy lift, to be honest. But no, that for a small business, that's definitely what you want to do. Once again, I'm a huge CIS fan, even though I don't really show them the love. But small business, a lot of times though, when I do small business, I do NIST. They usually have low, medium, high, low, moderates. Probably a couple, maybe a couple hundred more than CIS. But no, CIS, once again, CIS for small business. Yeah, like I said, last time, especially in GRC, unless you're a mature company, most companies still using spreadsheets. Um, so if you use an Archer, Open Pages, Audit Board, right, you get a little engineering in there because they're going to hook up to your ticketing system. Because when you're doing SOC 1, SOC 2, you're going through all your processes, checking stuff. When did you onboard? When did you outboard? When did you get the tickets closed? When did you take them off the system? Right, a lot of that's kind of engineering. Once again, using a GRC platform to help you with that. Yeah, that's it. But a lot of times, and I sucked at it. I sucked at documentation as an engineer. It was just something that I didn't like to do, especially in the level of DoD Fed. We actually had a documentation expert, and he just came through and got all the requirements. And shout out to R Squared Prime in the house. Glad she can join us. But yeah, so and that's one way you can get in is documentation. And that's the good and the bad thing about DoD Fair work. It's all got to be documented. So if you're in a small program, you're gonna have probably 5,000 pages by the time you do, especially from 800-53. You're gonna have 20 policies, and all our policies were about because we did the standard big template. It came from the FISMA regulation of 2024, all that fluff in there. So each one of those policies alone was like 20 pages. Probably 7 of that was fluff, right? So because they want you to use that formatting. So once again, so if you do a full documentation and the standard SSP in the Fed is probably 700 pages, 800 pages. But yeah, this like I said, I just see it so much throughout history because I'm oldest. It's just tech is just in a recession. I think tech became the new Bitcoin, so everybody wants to take a class and make 100,000. So I think we got about 30% of the people gonna give up in a minute. So I think there's a lot of people who's trying to get on that get rich quick scheme. So I think that's definitely saturated with the market. I don't know. I'd be on YouTube too much. They showing people from Ivy League schools that can't get a job right now because it's just so saturated, which I thought is unbelievable. Like people went to MIT, Cornell, and Brown. They're out there. So I thought that was super interesting. A couple of my homies' kids just graduated, so they reach out. So I just been seeing a lot of people struggling to find a job. And when I was unemployed trying to find a job, it was rough, right? I think the low end you struggling because people are cutting the low end out. Junior people, AI is picking a little bit of that up. One person can do 3 people's job with ChatGPT and some Grok is pretty good, so I think that's happening. And 2 is, I'm not phased by it. I get ageism. A lot of people, PBO is almost 60, right? So So, people are trying to make a certain type of steak bunny. So you're in that ageism, and I think a lot of times younger people might be feel intimidated. Like, I'm gonna try to take their job. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm trying to do my work remotely and get back to bed. I'm old. So once again, so I think it's if you're at the upper age limit and you coming in, and if you don't have enough experience, right? But once again, you need a job to get experience. That's that um, kind of age old issue. Once again, if you grind and don't keep up, this too shall pass. But um, and I think once again, I think we overhired during COVID. I think when Meta came out with their, I can't even think what that was called. I think they overhired for that. And two is that's what happened. .com. If you look at the .com, they overhired. Then once it didn't get to where it was, right, they had a restructure. So I think we had a couple big with the cloud coming in. I think with COVID, a lot of people were trying to do remote. I think the cloud overbuilt. So once again, I think those people are kind of right sizing. I hate that term. They're right sizing it over. No, that's my favorite move right there, Jim. I'm a 53 moderate guy. Like you said, in this CSF, I usually do schisms, um, not CIS, which is IRS versions of that. I thought for me the CIS is a little light on the hardening piece, but they're getting better. I probably need to do a video on a CIS hardening. Let's see if my man Jim came up. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, PBO? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still clear.
Cool deal.
Want to chime in on any on that? I saw you chopping it up in the chat. I don't know if you want to expound on any of that.
I need more coffee, but
No, you can pop. I
yeah,
should be drinking, so I'm right there with
no,
you. Want
yeah, I'm not gonna do coffee this late. No, it's funny when we talk GRC. It's just my background, DoD federal systems. It's like it wasn't doing. We didn't call it GRC. It was information assurance,
yeah.
FISMA compliance, DITS cap, DIA cap. But
Right.
the bottom line was it's like it wasn't the most fun thing. We had all these hotshot engineers and analysts and admins, and no one wanted to document anything. But by golly, and you had some type of inspection or
Mm-hmm.
something that went through, you had
Mm-hmm.
to do it. So I really learned, and being young, you didn't want to do it, but it was a good exercise. And I just kind of fell into it. And the joke I had, I think, last week or whenever we spoke last is, it's like those who can't do teach, right? But now the new joke is those who can't do when you hit a certain age, and it's like, you're not necessarily hands and eyes on a keyboard where the rubber meets the road. So the joke is those who can't do GRC. And I just thought that's the funniest thing because one of a friend of mine I spoke to, he says, "Man, it's like when I got out on the commercial side the last 8 years, I'm looking out and I'm like, what is this geriatric ward? I deal with all the like the compliance and audit folks and I said, yeah, it's the geriatric crowd, but he says it's getting worse because young people don't want to do it. They want to do the development, the mobile apps, AI, all of this fun stuff, and not necessarily deal with GRC. And GRC has been, I think we had this talk before. It's been kind of this odd, profession
Yeah.
where you've got the business side. They deal with enterprise risk management, financial risk, things like that, like in a bank or whatnot, and all of the compliance stuff. You've got some compliance folks or whatnot, but then you got the IT and security and GRC, with the tools and everything. It just kind of sits in this odd place, and it's like if you go into an organization, you could say, well, this is what I do, and it's like, well, this is where you belong, right? And we kind of float, and a lot of pieces are divvied up now. So it's tough. People say, well, what do you do and how do you, get in there? And it's not a one size fits all, so to speak.
No, I guess the only thing that kind of helps that, like you said, is if you're doing a government space where they're trying to do FSMA compliance or
Yeah.
CMC compliance, then you need somebody that's going to take ownership of the program and the paperwork because you're definitely going to get audited.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, one thing I will say, it's sector dependent because
Mhm.
being in certain, sectors, it's like they care less about it, right? If you're in medical, obviously HIPAA compliance, etc. But financial, it's like when you go in with your CISSP and all your creds, from ISC Square, whatnot, they kind of say, well, we don't care, they really look and say, what about your CISA, your system or your C risk? So those are better received.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as certifications, I've got that CGRC, but that's really FISMA flavored. It's getting a
Yeah.
little bit better. They throw some mention of like ISO 27001 and whatnot. But more, it was derived from the DoD community. And the C risk, it's good, but it just doesn't necessarily deal with like GRC. You're going to be a GRC person. You're going to be, running the tools and running that business line, so to speak. You're more on, the risk management side of the house. So it's a little bit, kludgy. But there's one certification. It was funny. A friend of mine I haven't spoken to for a long time. I noticed he posted something on LinkedIn that he got his GRCP certification, and I said, "What the heck is that?" And it's from the OCEG. I guess they're the people that coined the term GRC, like probably
Hmm.
about 20 years ago, and so they do certifications, and it seemed to align, much more with the practice of being a GRC person. But nobody, I never heard of it.
That's what I was gonna say. I've never seen that in a job rec on LinkedIn or anything. I've
Exactly.
never seen it.
Exactly. Just like you don't see, just like with the CGRC, you don't see that, but you're starting to see it a little bit more. But you see the C risk, right? But
Yep.
if I'm going to do GRC, it's like, well, I think the ISC square one's a little bit more in line, but they still
I,
look for the C risk.
yeah, I think the CISP is still the gold standard, but for me, I don't know why it's a management test. So, but
Yeah.
I think the HR kind of honed in on that. So I think that's kind of what HR is looking for. And if you look at the 8570 for federal work, that's one of the ones in the senior level box. I need to bring that up when I'm talking about that.
Hmm.
Yeah, Kay, I probably do it. I got to go talk to Ozier and ask for forgiveness. So I've got it started in his class. I just been tired lately, so I need to get with Chris and see if Chris can get me back in there. So that is my goal. I'm getting some energy back, so my goal is to finish it. But I think too, I just kind of got burnt out. And I looked at Dr. Ozier's class. I'm like, man, his class is way better than mine. I'm gonna have to kind of redo mine. So I think that took a little wind out of my sails. But now it's definitely on my list of things. Shout out to Kiki and Jasmine for joining. So yeah, just dovetailing on that. A lot of people ask me for the certification for GRC. For senior level, I think you hit them out: CISP, CRIS, CISA, CISM for the management. I think those are kind of the big four in there, and I think CIPP from the privacy standpoints, kind of in there. Middle level one, like you said, it used to be called CAP, but I think they changed it to GRC as in the middle. Um,
Yeah, I was involved with that. I was screaming at him for like probably 5 years. I said, "What the hell's a cat?" I said, "You have to have a GRC focus." So they actually came out and called it a CGRC. And
Yeah.
and I was really pushing them, when I did some of the job task analysis. I said, "Hey, we have to," and I'd fight all the DoD people, and I know exactly why that certification came out there. Just like their ISSEP, that was actually blessed off by NSA because they wanted certified engineers, and they co-sponsored the accreditation or the certification program. And I know who was responsible for that, but slowly it's been changing over just the last few years, and it's got a little bit more of a commercial focus, but it's still heavily, FISMA.
That's cool. What's up? I hope I messed. Oh, you got a lot of background now, Ollie. You got a lot of background noise.
Yeah, you're right. You're like on a space shuttle or something.
You got a little background noise. If you want to go ahead and chime in with the background noise, it's fine. You sound like you were driving on the highway, but so you can chime in. Let's see if he comes back.
Yeah, yeah, I was driving.
Okay, go ahead and chime in. Did you have something specific you want to
Oh
bring
no, I
up?
just joined. I was joined. Well, oh no, no, not really. Just joining.
Okay, that's cool. Just go ahead and mute and chime in when you want. It's all good. So, what would you GMR? What would you recommend for? I guess getting in certs or meet or I guess 3 years. 3 years, I guess.
Yeah, I think the thing is that 5-year plan, but getting in, just with Security Plus or something like that. And actually, that GRCP, it looks pretty good because I don't think they have years of experience requirement in there, and they seem to be, that might be something to look at. It's not that awfully expensive, but just getting your foot in the door, and obviously, it's tough job market right now. It really is. I'm looking for some things, and people are like, yeah, it's like, would you like $10 an hour or
It is crazy.
yeah, and so it's a tough market. A lot of people are looking, so don't be fooled. It's not that easy right now. It's a tough market, but the one thing I would say was, you do see GRC, you touch everything, right? Because really
Mhm.
what you are is you have to look at it, and you have to have, the CISSP level experience with network security, system, be familiar with, your Windows, Linux. You'd have to be, not an expert, but versed in cloud and cloud architectures and security. So really, I feel it's a 3 to 5 year track where if you want to get into GRC and you're really going to be, you're going to be a systems risk and controls validator, understand security and validate, read through all that documentation. You got to know the different frameworks. You got to know NIST, ISO, PCI DSS, HIPAA. You really got to know a lot. And I think from a certification, work on the CISSP. That's always the gold standard. It's been for 25 years plus, and then get something in cloud. Probably get something like the CCSP, or I forgot what the other one is. CCS. Well, I forgot what the heck it is. But then, or else something on AWS or Azure, and then you want to get something like a CGRC or a C-risk. Hands down, the C-risk is the gold standard if you're going to do something right in GRC. People just look at that, no matter what industry. It's like that seems to have the most credibility. And the other one I would probably look at would be a CISA, because it puts you in the CISA for my SACA. It puts you in an auditing mindset, and that's really big in a lot of industries. I'm not sure who hails from finance or whatnot, but that's another one. To me, it's boring doing auditing, but it's really helpful, doing anything with GRC.
Yeah, what my main focus is on my last couple of jobs is I usually do internal audits before we get the official audit. So that's kind of usually how I made my bread and butter at a few jobs.
Yeah, and I actually checked out, some of your IRS publications and whatnot. But
Mhm.
I'm good. I'm great on the freebie stuff. NIST is great because it's free and you can
Yeah.
read endlessly. And the other thing that's obviously you've got the SIS, the benchmarks and whatnot. You can download and go through.
Mhm.
Those are really good too. But another good one is it's like FFIEC. It gives you a lot of not benchmarks, but assessment cookbooks, or I forgot what
Mhm.
the lingo is. So it gives you I love free resources. So
Mhm. Mhm.
you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can spend money on deciding what your certification path is.
Have you heard of this one? Shout out to my man Kiki. He recently acquired the CCEP-I. It has to be updated every 2 years. I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
No, in fact, I was asking Copilot. I don't know what you use on AWS, but with my 365 is I asked Copilot because I'm lazy, and it said the big three would be the C risk, and it ranked them. C risk, if you're going to be a GRC person, then the CGRC, and then the GRCP because that's from the OCEG. I don't even know how you say that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I was looking for a lot of stuff. It's like I look at that too because I get questions. How do I get into GRC? And I'm like, it's an amalgam of everything, right? And you got to know a little bit about everything, and third party risk, etc. How are you going to assess things or to validate controls, right? You got to know. You have to have a broad experience, right? Which I can equate to the CISSP as well. But to me, it's like people are like, "Hey, what course can I take that would just teach me to be GRC and use all the tools?" And Archer and Drata, I guess, is another one here on for SMBs.
Yeah.
And there's just not a lot of that stuff.
So Kiki said it stands for Corporate Compliance and Ethic Professional International Certificate. So I'll bring it up. Yeah, I guess I need to add that to to my list and check that out.
Where's
Uh,
where's that looks like it's a like something from the UK maybe.
yeah, I'll share it real quick. So yeah, like you said, there's so many of them. Yeah, probably with the international. It's he had the dash I. So I got some healthcare in there. So yeah, I have to dig a little more into that. Let's see if I'm showing it right. Yep.
Yeah, and the first thing I do with any of those things is I run some queries on like Monster and LinkedIn to see who's actually doing requisitions for those certs.
Cyber, you want to chime in on anything? Welcome. Cyber, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Oh, he's typing. He's typing. No, maybe he's not typing. Well, he was typing. Let me know if you want to chime in on anything, Cyber. Or you just want to hang out. It's cool too. Uh, Let me know when you want to chime in. Shout out to Cam. Auditing practice and projects has helped me understand a ton, especially from a non-technical background. And that's the cool thing about NIST or any of them. I try to separate them out from management, then the technical side. I kind of divide and line management policy procedures. Then with the big one, you're gonna have your incident response, disaster recovery plan, COOP plan, continental continuity of business plans. So those are some of the standard plans. And I call it the technical, like we were talking about, your CIS level benchmarks, the hardenings you're going to do on different technologies. Then you'll have findings, poems, mitigating controls, kind of that whole blueprint there. So, and what that will look like. So, that's why I tell people a lot of times, especially junior people, you can eat well on the management side because policies, procedures, from this, you got to do those annually. And a lot of times it's a lot of paperwork flowing from that and keeping track of that and tracking down people and kind of how that would work, Cam. So no, that definitely a good move for that. But once
Yeah,
again,
and
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you said something earlier about, being from the DoD background, IRS, and I remember those. The best thing to really get you prepared is an audit. A DoD audit, right? It's
Oh
like,
my
oh my
God.
gosh, yeah. So you learn a lot pretty quickly. Or with the DoD and the government financial audits, I forgot. It's like there's a lot of good information that's free. I forgot what they call it, FISCAM or FICAM or
I
whatever
thought
it
it was
is.
Fizcam. I think it's
Yeah, yeah.
Fizcam.
Yeah, they have a lot of detail, like hundreds and hundreds of pages, like what
Oh
they're
my God.
looking for, the assessment methodology. So if you want to look for anyone wants to look for that, that's a great resource as well, because it pretty much just going through the process, it'll get you ready. And one thing I wanted to mention, it's just some folks I'm talking to at GRC, what they're looking for, obviously everyone's going AI, deploying
Oh my
AI
God.
agents.
It is.
So they want to use AI. You're going to have that human person there, right? You have to you got a position, right? You're an assessor or a validator, whether it's technical controls or programmatic. And then somebody's got to make a decision, right? Especially on a government side. Are you going to, authorize the system to operate as you
Mhm.
reduce the risk? And that's the pretty typical, in the commercial sector as well. Before you let a system fly, it's got the appropriate security controls and
Mhm.
risk mitigation in place. But they're looking, how can we automate a lot of these processes, right? So you're kind of like an orchestrator,
Mhm.
everyone is touting their tools, all these wonderful things, and I'm not seeing it. you know, I'm not seeing it. People love to talk a good game about how machine learning and AI is helping it, but it's still kind of a messy process, right? Because you got to
It
deal
is.
with people and processes, and you have to. That's the one thing they don't really cover really well. I don't know if you have, but to be in GRC, right, you're going to have to tell somebody their child is an ugly child, right? And that
I said that
you know,
before, yeah,
no
on the show, yeah, yeah.
nobody wants to be told their system is screwed
I,
up. So it
I,
takes a lot of people skills to work with people and to fix their problems.
yeah, yeah. What I do now is I don't tell them their kids ugly. I'm gonna bring it up. I tell them these are the requirements you need to make.
Yeah.
These are the changes you need to do, right, to be able to deliver that system. It's not me. It's going to be the external auditors that come in that's going to grade our system.
Oh yeah.
So it's not me. It's not personal. My job is to help you be successful. That's trying to I said, but basically, I'm calling your baby ugly.
Oh no, no.
But,
You know that. I know that. And
no, no, no.
obviously, in people in security or in GRC, right, we get into trouble because we roll up policy and we start stabbing people with it, right? When we really should be, reaching out to people, hey, here's the problems, let's work, or this is what you need to do, and do it in a positive type of a way. But
I'm
I
done with
don't
that.
care. You talk to some people on the wrong day, or they just don't want to hear it, or you could be, it could be something totally different, and it's like they just, don't have the budget for it, and they, yeah, you just basically, just told them their child was ugly. So yeah, not everyone reacts reasonably, but we have to do our duty. We just can't look the other way on these things.
Okay, no, that makes sense. It's carried by the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics. I was going to do the GRCCP, but I think that'd be overkill. I agree with you. My only issue, which is not really issue, I think jobs on the rec looks more for GRCCP. I think that'll be a little more known than the CSSE. That'd probably be my slight I guess critique on that. But real quick, if you look on the screen, if you're in AWS and you're using their tools, their conformance pack says these how these tools should be configured. Because AWS says we give you these services, you have to configure them to the level of security you need, right? So if you see at the screen, there's the IRS and the NIST. So they said for these type of systems, for NIST, it's 70%. IRS is a little more stringent. So from a tooling standpoint, it says, okay, from the 3PLs we brought on site and what we believe those requirements are, your system is 70% compliance or 54%. We can drill down and figure out which ones need to be upgraded more, if it's a Cat 1, Cat 2. So from a cloud perspective, they give you a little better tooling. But once again, that's the tech side. You still got to do your own policy, procedures, plans, right? So that's just one segment of GRC. Go ahead and chime in on that, Jim, if you want to.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say about that. Yeah, but I always love these dashboards, right? Because it's like, oh, what does this mean? Or what's the risk scoring criteria? Or what controls? Then you got to do a deep dive, and it's like you find out so much stuff that's insignificant, or it's not doesn't apply to you. So
they're pretty good. If you look on my screen, so they said you need to have CloudTrail, you're not compliant. So they're getting a little better for that because they want you to spend money. And two is the cool thing is you can automate that from a GRC engineering. I can make it automatically fix that non-compliance, but the problem is it might be non-compliant because it's gonna break our app.
Yep.
So you got to figure out. You got to work with the team. I can make all that go green, but the app might not work. So I think that would be a failure on our part. But once again, they're getting a little better. So it tells you your CloudTrail, which is logging for your API calls inside AWS.
And the thing is, you got to go through all of those and document, the controls and why they're configured. You could have a compensating control, or you could call for encryption, and you could be doing a disk encryption. Yeah.
And like you said, and that's the good part is we might be non-compliant, but we might do it a different way than what they recommend. Right? They might be wanting encryption or some specialized key. Like you said, we could be doing Lux because it's a Linux box and it's encrypted on the disk. It's checking for how it wants to do it, and we got to compensate. But from this standpoint, which is cool because I've been actually trying to get, of course, better with that. You can actually document what your compensated control is for this control. The cool thing is if you look, it shows you the frameworks that use this control. Because a lot of times you have multiple control frameworks you're using. So this check is for the CIS, which you brought up, CIS level 8, FedRAMP, ISO 2701. Shout out to Chris Hadako. I think he's the ISO guy. I don't even have him and man. NIST CSF 171 is CMMC, 53R5, my favorite one, and credit cards, PCI DSS 32, 1, and 4. Because a lot of times too is if we're doing multiple controls, we don't want to do them separately. We want to say, like they're doing here, this control satisfies these multiple frameworks. So they're trying to make it a little easier for you to track multiple frameworks, which is a monster when you use the spreadsheets trying to do that. But so they're trying to, like you said, give you a little dashboard to work on it.
Yeah, and it's funny. You said you were Mr. Stig, and how many times have you run you run a Stig report and you're looking and it's saying, hey, you need to fix this, and then you're doing screenshots and saying, hey, it says right here I've configured it.
Oh yeah.
And then you got to do the old manual, cut and paste, give me a screenshot evidence and whatnot. Then
Oh yeah.
But yeah, in the one thing I have with whether it's this or another tool, and it says you're this compliance, and you start looking through it, right? And then you're wondering, well, how accurate well, Amazon's going to do a good job, or someone else, but you get some of these other vendors, and you're like, how well are these controls mapped, right? Can I believe this? And once you just got to do a deep dive sometimes, right? You can't take anything to heart with some of these vendors tell you. Don't trust, always verify, right?
Always. The option sniper AI is helping. I am a SCAA, I think it's auditor, CDAL. We're using AIS and SBOMs to auto evaluate the BOE packages, generate the initial listing findings even before human lays eyes on. No, I think that's cool. AWS has their SBOM. software bill of material, I believe, SBOM. But no, like you said, AI is definitely helping with those. A lot of companies, we got a we got an AI committee. So if it's generative AI, sometimes they might not let you use it, and a lot of times you got to be careful because if it's not redacted, the AI is just going to put it out there for everybody to be able to see. So
Well, I do things the old-fashioned way. Like if I get different, scan reports and whatnot, I'm gonna look at those. I haven't run it through AI, to validate like multiple different scans or things from web app reports and things. So I'm just wondering how good a lot of that is for people that have
no,
used it.
no, that's true. Like I said, I've used Archer, Drata, so I might start seeing if I can get a free license or I don't know if they have an open source version of that. I know Chris was trying to get some of that, so I know Archer doesn't. They like we the 800-pound gorilla. Give us all your money, but some of the little guys, I think we can maybe Drata, Open Pages, Audit Board. There's quite a few out there. I've been dabbling. I've been saying that forever. Is Office 365 has so many built-in tools that you can use. I'm looking at their SharePoint has approval workflow. I was going to use the approval workflow to approve policies. Like you do with policies, you got to write them. Then the people in charge of those divisions has to approve those policies, and they can do digital signatures on it. So I've been kind of going through some of that and see what that looks like.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago you did something that really impressed me. It was impressive, and yet it, I I think you were going out to like Microsoft Planner and you were building a
Yeah,
workflow with some of the controls, or maybe
yeah,
even
yeah.
Jira. I can't remember. It
No, it
was
was planner. Yeah,
yeah, it was really slick, and it's funny because you get so many tools, and it's like, oh, you don't realize it could do that, right? And it's like, yeah, of
well,
course.
I think what happened was, and I seen it to Chris and some other people. If you have a basic, which most people do, E3 license out of Azure, Microsoft Office 365,
Yeah.
you get Planner, you get Power Automate, you get SharePoint, you get like 20 tools with that. And I start going through it. I found one of the there's 2 or 3 guys on YouTube. They use that for I'm not using the term automation or approval process for your company. They were just going through all the tools. I'm like, I could use that for policies. SharePoint list is just really a database like access. Then on top of that, you could do Power Automate to send out emails. If somebody changes a policy, you can send out the emails. If it's due in 3 months, you can send out email to tell people to unlock it and start doing it. So all those tools were kind of built into Office 365 that you were already paying for. I'm not gonna say free. Most people got an E3 license for Office and Teams, and you get all those tools with it. Let's see, Get in Brown. I never heard of that. Yeah, Steve. I got PowerPay. Yep, Power Apps with the poop. Yep. So you were. That's what I was thinking. Kay. I did one where I called it I think I call it no code stuff where I was doing stuff. I was using and I think that's when you were talking about, Jim, where I was using SharePoint lists and Power Automate and doing some
Yeah,
stuff. So yeah,
that's it.
case. So yeah, no, fact. So I'm definitely gonna start. I keep saying I'm doing everything, but so yeah, I've been using some of those at one of my other jobs where we were doing contracting and some other stuff. We were using SharePoint lists. And I just took to the next level, Power Automate. So we had to send out emails, and they got things like Red Team and Gold Team when they bid on stuff. So I had to just send out emails, tracker. I got something named Loop now where you can put your calendar with your Word documents, and you put them on SharePoint, so you don't have to email them around. You can just update them in one spot. So I think once again, that's that. Using the tools, and I think that's kind of the future. Let's see. Looks very interesting. Definitely worth considering the next few months. Cool. Question. Can you tell us about some tasks you did early on in your GRC? I can, Ben. Mine was a little different, though. One task that actually got me really started in GRC was I was working on a web team configuring Apache and Tomcat for the Java developers. I used to do Java. So we were getting audited, so I never thought about it. They gave me the sticks to go in there and harden the config files. So my manager, who currently works for AWS, I'm gonna bring him on, a guy named Scott Batchelor, super cool guy. We were taking those hardening things from a GRC perspective, like we talked about. Like we were looking at this on the screen. Those are hardening things, like your app config all at once. So I was hardening the web server and the app server to get ready for an audit. So that's kind of how I started. Now, once again, I was super technical, but that's really how I actually got in GRC. I wouldn't be thinking of it like that. Then our team, shout out to Scott, we were so good at it. We were at DOD. They started sending us to other teams to help them. I'm like, you got to go help them. So that's kind of got me started in GRC, that hardening. Because I was kind of on the technical side. Then my boss from an interview, I think she works for a big consulting company. She became the CIO for the state of Indiana, invited me to work with her because I did it at DOD. And she was sending me out to help other people, right, from that NIST. And really, IRS sits on top of NIST, so it was just a natural progression. So me doing the hardening, and I got Stig videos on my channel where I kind of walk through hardening Oracle, walk through hardening Apache, walk through hardening a Tomcat, where I kind of went through from a technical level about what I hardened. Then from an audit, that's really what you would validate, right? I do it and said it's done, and you got to validate that. Some of it could be with these tools, and some of it, like Jim said, I need some screenshots, right? So how do you audit that hardening? But that was kind of my first job from a technical standpoint, being tech. Once again, I was working with the web team and the app team, and really the development team. I did Java for 10 years. So I was hardening those platforms and working really with the GRC. They was reaching out. So then I kind of got good at it. So they kind of brought me on that team to help out other teams. So that's really how I actually got started in GRC. If you decide to practice, I'm definitely joining. Yeah, I'm working on that, K. Because I said I was gonna do a and I thought that was one thing that kind of shook me up. I need to at least start with a couple families from an SSP, because you're gonna need a system security plan if you're doing anything at a federal level, even for a commercial level. A lot of people want to see your system security plan. A lot of people don't talk about that because that's a heavy lift. What's your thoughts on that, Jim? Do you have experience with CMM? I don't know.
Sorry, I missed you. I was doing something with my dog.
No, you're fine. I was just talking about hardening. That's really how I got in the GRC, because I was on a web team, app team. So I was actually hardening, doing that hardening, that I got the requirements from the GRC team. They said, do these STIGs. I'm like, okay. Then me and my manager, he works at AWS. We went through the configs and we start hardening them, right? We got pretty good at it, so we start helping other teams. So that kind of was my foray to get into
same thing
GRC.
here. You know, DoD side, we had to hard things with STIGs, and obviously, you know, bring systems and document systems, make sure we could get them signed off on. And then as you're operating, you know, we were doing vulnerability assessments we had to comply with the, you know, DoD programs, so we had to report our compliance stats and things like that. And really, it's the same part of the same ecosystem. Hey, I posted something about SCF. If you're familiar with that, or you have any experience with a secure controls framework.
I do not. I saw you post that. I need to go look at. For me, once again, I just do STIGs, and part of that's really the control framework, that and the schism. So I probably need to go look at it. But for me, once you do STIGs or schisms, you either do it or not. It's a finding. You implement it, or you're going to do a POAM, or you're going to do a mitigated control. It really, for me, all the frameworks are are the same, right? It might be the level of complexity of your checks, but let's see. Case said, "On Sweat, no need for recording. Just WhatsApp link to a group, and we can join in a weekly Zoom." Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I don't know if I want to send a massive Excel spreadsheet, but okay. Maybe I need to go look at it. I got a massive deal. I got a massive Stig one, so I'll check it out. If you were managing an org and had a budget to hire someone to work underneath your supervision, what key skills and qualities would you prioritize to ensure they had a significant value to your work? That's that's an interesting question. And I'm gonna take it from my boss because she did something super interesting that I was confused for. She brought me in as a technical resource, the guy that was over me at DoD, so he had the management. She brought in an IAM specialist, and I interviewed her on my channel, and then she brought in a compliance director. The IAM specialist kind of threw me off, but most checks start with your IAM, so she was super detailed. So me, I would bring in one of those particular skill sets. Once again, identity, access, and management is kind of at the heart of really all of it, right? And so, so what does that mean? Access reviews, privilege access reviews, those are real big in any framework you do. You got to review least privileges. Are they over privileges? Are they escalating? And in a big organization, you could have 50 divisions, and you got to have them to review their passwords and the privileges. They got DBAs, developers, anybody that could touch a database really is privileged. So kind of how you handle all of that. So access management skill and two, once again, I split it off in two. So my policy plan person, you can do all that documentation. Now, you don't have to know everything in it, but just to control all that documentation. And really, that's the compliance director. I'm trying to review her. She was excellent, named Pat. Because inside a large or even a medium-sized organizations, you might have FISMA. I work for the state board of accounts. We're coming in, asking for paperwork. We were reporting to the IRS. We were doing the STIGs, and we were doing some FINREC, because the Department of Revenue reporting to some financial organization. So that's 5 compliances. So you being to handle all that paperwork for those different compliances, and when they're due, right? What does that schedule look like in handling that? Then once again, tech guy can talk to developers, because a lot of times you got to do third-party assessments, review your software coming in, kind of once again risk assessments, because a lot of people are not doing their risk assessments for third parties, so they're getting hacked. So you got to have somebody to do that. But I put me in a technical person in. Then once again, the technical side. Do you understand IAM? Do you understand databases? Especially if you're doing custom development. So that's what I would look for. You want to chime in on that, Jim?
No, well, one thing I was just laughing to myself here, because my wife sometimes will say, "Why must you be so negative?" And I said, "It makes me good at my job." And that's just part of security. It's you have to be a little bit negative and look at things and how they're going to break and whatnot. So. But when you're talking about like bringing someone in to do GRC, it's like, to me, it's just someone who's really well-rounded, but good at thinking on their feet, that looks at things, asks lots of questions, and it's kind of like the Columbo thing, right? You want someone asking questions, and because believe me, you get so much stuff handed to you, you don't know what it is, right? So you have to do a deep dive into it, and you can't be afraid to get your hands dirty.
No, that's true. The pain, I will look in. Yeah, don't. The NIST is a big lift. Don't panic. I will look at the CIS level 1, and they give you a lot of templates out there. Yeah, I'll bring up their website. Yeah, if you look at the CIS level 1 for small tattoo shop. Tattoo shop. The other thing I would check out is she taking credit cards. Maybe touch a little bit on PCI. I wouldn't get crazy with. Yeah, don't do the NIST, man. That's big boy stuff. You gotta be ready. You gotta be ready. But no, I would look at the CIS level 1. If she's taking credit cards, I don't know since they're actually piercing the skin. I don't know if anything in there is medical or not, but I'm sure she take credit cards. So I would look at the PCI DS. There's different levels to it. So that's why I would look at the CIS benchmarks and touch a little bit on the PCI DS. I'm sure she's doing that. Yep. So that's what I would check out. PCI DS, because for a small org, those checks aren't big. And I would layer that with the CIS level 1.
Well, I'd venture to say that they're not probably storing data, so it goes to a third-party service. So they're just scanning the cards and they're not maintaining that stuff. So, but also there's from a just a good guide. I can't remember where it is or what it was called, but the HIPAA folks, is they gave just like a security 101 for small businesses that do healthcare, that just talked about simple things like what do you do to make sure you're secure, asset management, 2MFA, password protection, things like that. That would give you a good outline for things to address or to start with, just, hey, are we doing these things for the small business, the tattoo parlor? That would be my best guess.
Yeah, like so I'm sure they're using probably basic PC, probably, usually somewhere. So you want to just have your standard malware, virus protection on it. Make sure that's up to date. Probably have a backup thing if the power goes out to keep it running. Just like you said, I wouldn't get too crazy with it.
I'd have a business continuity plan. You don't want those tattoo pens dying halfway through.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. So that's where I was starting. Shout out to Kurt. My background was corporate law. Yeah, my last job, I used to work with a ton of lawyers. I need a new challenge. No, I think that's definitely a nice pivot. GRC to appeal to me, privacy, my area. You doing any CIPP? Shout out to Chris and Dwight. They were doing the CIPP. And I worked with I worked for the big company. We had a privacy director because we were bidding on work that was in Europe, GDPR. So I was reading a lot of GDPR stuff, which was giving me a headache. Then the CCPA is I call it the poor man's version of that. So now I'm definitely familiar with those. It was interesting. It was interesting. But yeah, shout out to Study GRC. They were doing privacy streams every week. Shout out to Chris and Dwight. So on their channel, they have those saved. I thought those were interesting. I got a few because their privacy domain got a lot bigger due to GDPR and CCPA. So they were digging down a little more deeper into that.
Yeah, it's funny. I held the CIPP a long time ago, and it was it seems like attorneys are always the privacy officers. I don't know why. It just seems to go that way. People with a legal background.
Well, I think what happened is GDPR made it so GDPR and CCPA made their stuff so legal. Yeah. I think they just kind of, especially GDPR, man, when you read that, I'm like, dude, this is a legal document. So I think that's how they kind of got into
and it's funny because then they broke off a track where they had like a technical track that was more for your cyber people, and then they had it reminded me a lot of you ever deal with like SOC audits, SOC 2s and whatnot. It's funny because I would kind of go in and we do the security portion of it, with the CPA firm I was working for a while back, but I couldn't sign off on it. Right, you get your attestation. It had to be done by a CPA, and then I realized it was all a racket. Right, so.
They're getting a little better, but I agree with you. Shout out to Dave. They're getting better, but the last couple ones, I used to see them and I used to hate them. I'm like, dude, you're not answering any of my security questions. But I thought that was weird that security documentation was done mostly by CPA firms.
Well, yeah, and that's a lot of it was just like, well, do you have this policy? Do you have a business
Mm-hmm.
continuity plan? Check, check, check. But then, then I would go in. Well, you'd have people that take care of the IT systems, but from a security standpoint, there I am and checking a firewall and checking their SIEM, doing a lot, make sure they're doing all the right things from a security control perspective. And then I have to go to a 25-year-old. Would you please sign off on this? Because you're a CPA. So, yeah. So then I realized it was, a little bit of a racket there, but it is what it is.
It is. I'm trying to give him a little more love, but you are correct. Let's see. There it is. Let's see. Let's see if you can see that. So if you look on the screen, that's AWS Audit Manager, and they try to give you a little more things so you can have multiple assessments. So I had 2 PBO assessments going on. I think I had one for NIST and one for NIST 800-53. So they tell you they got, for evidence, they got 1 million items they're looking at. So I don't know how true, but it kind of walks through each of the control families, the 20. So it shows you what it's looking at in that control family. Like policies and procedures, that's manual. Go ahead.
PBO, can you pull up a dashboard right there, whatever your assets are, but just say, hey, pull it up on 853, like a moderate baseline, and NIST CSF and PCI DSS.
Yep. But remember when I was looking at the other one, it had that already built in. Because remember, I was looking at conformance, but those checks, now you got to move them to Audit Manager because you got to say, once again, is this check completed? And if it's open, or do we have a compensated control? So this is kind of their version of, these are the things we looked at. Then once again, you could put in there to say, now this is our compensated control. Like I said, I'm just start really digging into it to figure out what this tool is doing. So and 2, and once again, the policy procedure, that was manually. I just said I manually reviewed it. So each one of these controls, you got to come in like Jim saying is, you got to say as an auditor if it's good or not. Right? Even though it says it's good, you got to sign off on it. So from access control, 1, 2, account management, disable accounts. So you got to go through and make sure that they're disabling it. Are they doing some automation? Are they manually doing it? So from an audit manager, right, we went over there and said 60 or 70% is true. Then you got to review it and say, yes, it is, or this is our compensated controls, or we're going to do a poem and do it next year, right? So this is kind of this version of what you would do as an auditor. I haven't really dug into it a lot. Like I said, I was just getting my feet wet. Let's see. I think this is my... So yeah, this is the compliance. That doesn't say. Go ahead. What was you gonna say?
Out of curiosity with AWS, like for example, if I'm going to build a controls framework, I'll try to follow where you pivot on one, but then it's tailorable, so you can create your own enterprise framework, and you're pulling, from PCI DSS and HIPAA, etc. So it gives you one, consolidated view. Can you do that and create a custom, controls dashboard for what you have?
Yeah, Yeah, that was on my list. I always said it was on my list. I was trying to do that with this, like you said. Can I say that this control right here is for multiple controls, right? So I think, this was my NIST control, and the other one I think was what you were trying to do. I was trying to make my control framework that says disabling account is at the top for these. Like you said, you got disabled accounts in PCI, NIST. So could you build your control framework here and just map the other controls for this? Basically, what's meaning is whatever control is the highest, that's the one you got to pick, because then the other 4 or 5, would pass. So But no, I was looking into that, Jim. I did not finish completing that that project. I got too many projects to be honest, but no, I know what you mean. So I was trying to do that in Item Manager to see if I can make that happen.
No, I'd love to see that. Like if you just took like, like 2 or 3 or 4 control frameworks and then created, the PBO enterprise framework and meshed them together and kind of show us what you did to create that and how you took every control and you said, well, we don't need this because this is, takes priority, or we don't need 2 of the same, controls. So this is what we're going to do with it. So
yeah, I started to see I had the 2, like you said, I was going to do NIST and the IRS. And like you said, and have one be the control and have both of them roll up into that control. But like you said, I was like, so now I didn't get to it because everybody's kind of getting to that now with your multiple frameworks, and especially your hospital, you're doing HIPAA, HITRUST, PCI DSS. So what, like you said, what would that look like? So, but I was thinking about that, Jim, and of course, AWS they have some articles trying to walking you through that. So I was just trying to see if it was doable, because a lot of times they show you how to do it, but in real life it's not doable. So I was trying to see if I could make it doable. So everybody, throw your last few questions in there if you have any more. I'm gonna kind of winding it down. Whew, man. The only problem with that, Jim, is this for AWS. A lot of times you got systems on site, system on prem. Everybody has a SaaS service, so it's kind of like, okay, how do you roll that up? I appreciate you, Jim.
Well,
How do you roll all that up?
well, that's what I do. It's like, I just do things the old-fashioned ways, break it out on spreadsheets and things and build it. And then it's like on prem, it's a little different, but then then you get your cloud environments. It's just you just bring up different dashboards, at least on Azure. Okay, is this compliant? Is this compliant? But when I do is when we buy products and services or roll out a new app, then we'll go through it and make sure it actually has all the right controls before we put it out there.
Yeah, when I worked for a big company, it was crazy. Like, we would look at it from a GRC perspective, corporate policies, procedures,
Yeah.
in this shop. Then
Yep.
Security architects will look at it, what type of encryption you're using, what
Yep.
type of SaaS file. Then privacy start looking at it. Then I worked at a big company. Then procurement would look at it, because now we talking about pricing, how many licenses, can we get a discount? I was like, oh my God, it's crazy, man. It'd be like, we'd be talking about buying software. It'd be like 20 people in the room. So
For me, that's what it's we were a mid-tier company, right? So it's like we didn't have all these people. We didn't have a privacy officer per se that would even know what they were doing to look at the controls. So it was incumbent upon I'd be working as an integrated architect, an engineer, and a security controls assessor at the same time. So it was wild. A lot of companies, mid-tier have to do that. Then you wish you were big and had all these things, but then when you work for a large organization, it gets to be so bureaucratic. You're like, I wish I was in a small organization.
Oh no, I love the big car, because I get it. I'd be like, legal need to look at it. I'd be sending everything to legal. I'm like, yeah, legal need to sign off. But here's the original one, like with the 2 different. And like Jim said, how do you put those together and have one control framework that map to both of these compliance? So that's kind of what I was trying to get to the next level. Got my NIST and my IRS Pub 1075. And for control framework, like both of those, you're gonna have password length, right? So, but I think IRS is 14. I think 815 is 15, right? So we have to do 15, and that would take care of both of them. That would be your master control framework. Then both of those compliances, would be implemented and approved underneath that. Olu, I'm gonna mention that. If you want to chime in with anything before we shut it down, I want to appreciate you for coming up. You want to chime in with anything? I think he drove and fell asleep. Hopefully he's okay. Once again, put your questions in the box. We're going to go ahead and shut it down. Get ready for hump day tomorrow. Finish watching my good show. Okay, Ola driving, so we're going to let him be safe. Glad you can join us. He's typing. So you want to chime in on anything, Jim, before we shut it down?
No, I ran out of gas. I'm tired.
Yeah, I am too. I drank pop and I'm still dozing off. So I gotta do one more lab before I go to bed. I'm doing some AWS data engineering stuff and looking at it for compliance. I appreciate y'all. So yeah, I'm with you. I mean cyber. But yeah, so well, I want to appreciate everybody for joining us. You can always ping me. I'm easily found. I'm usually bothering the Study GRC people. So you can definitely check me out on their channel. Let's see. I might start trying to do a Thursday lunch risk assessment for I get a lot of risk assessment questions on software coming from a review, coming from contracts, coming from trust centers. I'm starting to hate trust centers, so I'm gonna talk about why I don't like trust centers for a review. Of course, AWS has a lovely trust center, so I'll probably start off with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Once again, I want to appreciate everybody for joining me tonight. Just reach out to me if you need anything. Once again, if you need to talk, Study GRC has Coffee with the Mafia, so I usually support those guys. They do resume reviews, just kind of generally talking about people trying to get in the industry. Once again, if you need me, I'm easily found. I want to appreciate everybody for joining me. PBO, I'm out. Everybody have a good night and happy hump day. Thanks for joining me, Jim.